What's going on, everybody? How are we doing tonight? I hope that you guys are having a fantastic day. I know it's been a little busy over here. I've been kind of all over the world and running errands and cleaning up and yeah, good time. Went to the Freedom Festival here that we had in our little small town. It was a good time. Good time. Kind of got rained out towards the end. I think the wife and the little one are going to be heading over a little bit later to watch fireworks. But I decided that I would like to hang out with you guys more and talk to our guest. So the plan for tonight is we're going to talk to a pretty awesome chick from Florida. Now, before we get there, let's see here. Housekeeping. Yeah, you guys know I hate self-promotion. But yeah, housekeeping. There's stuff that you guys can buy, like shirts, merch. Check out the Patreon because I drop all kinds of extra content on the Patreon. It's only $1 make you holla a month, and all the proceeds from that go into equipment for me to be able to go out into the field. And just so you guys know, the documentary that I'm going to be dropping with Harley Owens is going to be premiering at the end of next month. The main body of the thing is finished. It is ready. And let me tell you what, it is awesome. So far, the test reviews from the test audience, they're loving it. So it's looking great. Lots of interesting things in there. Lots of interesting things. I think y'all gonna really like it. So, yeah. But with that all being said, get that out of the way. Go check out all the stuff. It's there in the description. Yada yada. Anyways, so with that being said, let's get our guest up here, Miss Brooke. So, without further ado, boom. What up,
Hi.
Brooke?
How's it going? Thank you so much for having me on tonight.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. How are you doing today?
I am doing well. I'm excited for all the fun stuff that we're going to get into tonight.
Yes, me too. Me too. Well, Brooke, tell us first a little bit about who you are and what you do. Let's get your stuff out there.
Sure. Well, my name is Brooke Moreland, and for those who don't know me, I have a podcast called Dark Florida, where we cover everything from the Sunshine State and beyond. I'm a boots on the ground researcher here in Florida, and I also travel around to other states whenever I get the opportunity to investigate cryptids there as well. Anything paranormal, UFO related, or just strange. I love to cover it. Unsolved mysteries, strange history. That's right up my alley. So that's what I do. You can find me on anywhere you get your podcasts. Same thing with YouTube. I don't really do much with visual at this point in time, but I'm going to try to get better in the coming months with posting some stuff from our field research and different things like that on there for the listeners to be able to go out and see what we do.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. So, as far as the field research goes, is there a group or anything in particular that you're attached to that you would like to also get out there?
Yeah, so I do a lot of solo work, but I also do a lot of collaboration as well. And I am affiliated with a group here in Florida called Bigfoot World Cryptids and the Paranormal Researchers of Central Florida. And we're a fun group out of
Mm,
Ocala, and we get together as much as we can. But yeah, definitely check out their stuff too. They've captured some amazing footage over the years.
awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of Florida and Ocala, what's the temperature like right out there right now?
90s.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I feel that. I
hmm
definitely feel that.
But we're kind of getting into that part of the year where there's always that afternoon thunderstorm. So it kind of cools things off a little bit at night.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. I know it's
Mhm.
been miserable here. I've been praying for rain.
Yeah.
It's horrible. I think I've experienced all three forms of swamp but at work so far, so it's rough. Pray for us, y'all, here in the South. It's rough.
Yeah, it is. I think we're coming out of a historical drought too. So we really needed rain there for a while.
Mm. Yeah, I think we're technically underneath a burn ban right now, but it
hmm
doesn't stop me from going out with my little propane weed flamethrower torch thing and just destroying things in the garden. Oh, I love it. I
There
love to
you
play with the fire. But
go.
anyways, so Brooke, tell us a little bit about what it is that you've been working on lately, like some of the recent expeditions and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I just recently got back from Tennessee. I was able to go on
Mm,
a trip that was in the eastern part of Tennessee. Not only was it so beautiful, I absolutely loved the vibe there, and I'm already planning on going back. It was one of those places you go and you're
yeah.
like, man, I just wish I had more time. But there's something just about my personal favorite. I love to go out. I'm almost out every weekend here in Florida, investigating, but I always love when I get to go somewhere for a prolonged period of time, really
Mhm.
scout out the location.
Yeah.
And so, it was a beautiful, beautiful trip. It was really cool. We did have some strange activity. We had some strange wood knocks, and we also had this giant tree come crashing down
Hmm.
in the middle of the night while we were out there. So it was one of those places that I didn't get to dig into as much as I wanted to because of certain time constraints and other things, but I am already itching to go back.
Yeah, I know that feeling very well. Tennessee is very interesting. Very interesting. I went out twice in March, once with Relic Films, and then the other time with Harley. So it was a great time. And yeah, you're right. It is so beautiful. So beautiful.
It is. It's really dense there too.
Hmm. Oh yeah, it's hard to see much with all them laurels in the area, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
But
it's so much
hey,
woods, and that's one of the things
yeah,
that is a little bit unfortunate about Florida right now is with all of the development, our woods are quickly vanishing, it feels like, so to be able to go someplace where it's just really a vast wilderness is it's a nice change of pace.
right, no doubt. Yeah, I guess instead of laurels there, you guys have more palmettos, right?
Oh, yeah, galore.
Good. Glad to know I got that right in the thumbnail image. Yes.
Yes, yes. And those are really interesting too because they're sort of like a food source as well. When you come across an area where they've been ripped up and the root ball's been eaten, that's a cool
Really?
thing to come across. Yeah,
Oh. Now, is it just the root that's edible in that?
that's a great question. I think that multiple parts of the plant are. I've heard like some people make a stew out of it. I've never had it, but I've
Hmm.
been wanting to try it. Apparently, it's pretty good.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
got me curious now.
Hmm.
Well, that's awesome. Well, tell me a little bit about the most recent experience that you had out there. I feel like you guys had some interesting stuff happen, whether that be Tennessee, Florida, wherever you want to go and talk about first. Let's go.
Yeah, so we have been getting out there a lot lately, and it was just really cool when we had the opportunity to scout out in Tennessee, and we had scouted out this area where I definitely had gotten a vibe. And as we were going to leave, we had heard those knocks that really stopped us in our track, and we're like, "Ah, maybe we should stay, maybe we shouldn't go." And then we had this giant tree come crashing down, which was absolutely insane. I don't think people really realize how loud that is or how scary it is when something like that comes crashing down
Oh yeah.
right by you.
Mm.
So that was pretty intense. I know that that area is known for bears. We didn't see any, we didn't catch anything on the thermal, but we did have this giant tree come crashing down right as we wwere kind of about to leave.
Mhm.
So that was really odd. And then just some stuff that we've been having happen here in Florida. We've seen some strange lights and had some strange sound anomalies coming out of the panhandle. I always love talking about that because
Yeah.
I love your intro, how you kind of include a lot of different things because I think people automatically think of Florida and they think of the Florida skunk ape, but there's so much more happening here. And especially with things like the rake, the skinwalker, some of those black eyed children, and things like that, as well as these strange energy orbs. That is
Ooh.
all happening here. And
You're
we got
tickling
to,
my tism good right now. Keep going.
yeah. Yeah, well, we got to experience some of that when we were in the Panhandle. That's one of my favorite places to research here in Florida.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you a story about this one time. We decided to go and scout out this location, and we came back there at night because we found this really cool spot in the woods that was sort of like this natural bowl where you could kind of go and sit and something could come and observe us. And this was in an area where I had previously had a sighting, and there was also some Bigfoot activity in the area, as well as all of the other things I just mentioned. And we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, we're kind of observing this red light in an area of woods where I'm telling you, there are no people. This is not where people go. It is very remote. And we're watching this light kind of almost like it's watching us. And
Yeah.
we observed it for about 10 seconds and then it went away. But we also heard some howling screams that night, had some stuff thrown at us. So that was a pretty intense night of research for sure. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, we come across some weird stuff down here.
No doubt. Do you happen to remember the color of the light?
This particular one was red.
Red. Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I've seen red and white while researching. So I don't know what the color differences mean. And this again is an area where we didn't have anybody back there, and it backed up to this creek, and there was no trails, campgrounds, anything, not someone wandering around with a red headlamp. I mean, literally nothing was back there. And
Right.
we got to observe this phenomena. And it was great because I had two other people who were able to see it with me. Because when I had my first sighting, I was the only one who saw it. And it was such a validating experience to have two other people witness this red light as it's kind of observing us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say that a lot of the times that I've been out squatching or boogering at night, the majority of the time, the lights that I've seen have always been red as well. So that's very interesting. Now, before we get too much further, Mr. MK Ultra has a question for you. Thoughts on recent meteors?
Oh my gosh, I know I should have an opinion on this, but I briefly saw something about it. What happened?
I think an interesting dash cam caught one coming like from the highway, I think, and I believe it hit a woman's house in Georgia. I don't know. There could be more that I'm not familiar
I have
with.
to look into this.
Eh. Boogering, yes, that is what usually we refer to it as when we go out squatching. We call it boogering
I love
because
that.
everything's a booger or a haint here in Alabama. So there you go. Plus, it's kind of fun to say.
It is.
Yeah. You're welcome to steal it.
I might have to. I'll give you credit.
That's all that matters. So yeah, all right. Yeah, I don't really have an opinion on that really either. I mean, every time I see a meteor like in the daylight, my only thought is it really a meteor or is it like the airplane flushing a toilet? You know, that's like my only thought when I see that stuff. But yeah, who knows? Whatever. So okay, now you mentioned that you also saw a UFO that particular night. Am I getting this correct?
No, but I do have a UFO sighting that we
Okay,
could get
good
into.
enough. Let's go.
All
love
right.
hearing about this stuff.
Yeah, I don't get to talk about it that much, so I'd love to get to chat about that. No, I
Yeah.
had a UFO sighting before I got into any of this weird, wonderful world of cryptids and strangeness. And I actually had it back in 2014 in November in South Carolina, on the Edisto Beach area, which it's part of Colleton County, which is a very small county, which has since been made famous with the news stories like the Murdaugh murders, if that rings a bell.
No.
Okay, so basically,
I avoid the murder mystery stuff like the plague. Ugh,
I get it.
I can't do it.
I used to be really big into it, and then I think something shifted inside of me, and I just couldn't listen to so much tragedy all the time, and
That's it exactly.
profiting off of tragedy. It's not for me, but no, great for whoever's into it.
Yeah.
But they got put on the map because basically this guy allegedly went and killed his family, and he was part of one of these rich dynasties in the county, and I think ran a lawyer's office there for a long time. They worked for the state,
Mhm.
and so they were old money in South Carolina. So anyways, that town has since been made famous for that, but otherwise a very small town, not a lot happening there at all. So in order to find any kind of entertainment, we were just kind of driving around, me and some of my friends, and we decided we were going to go down to Edisto Beach,
Mm.
which has nothing when it's not season. It's like totally closed up, and this is November, and it was pretty cold. And we got out to the beach, and we decided that we were just going to kind of hang out there, when all of a sudden we started observing these lights over the water, and it was these amber orange lights, and they were huge, and you could see the difference between the stars. I mean, the stars look like a pin, and then you had these giant, orbs that were glowing, and they were all in a line, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they were going out one at a time, and then they would reappear shortly after in a different shape, like a triangle. They were making just these different shapes and things like that. And we observed the phenomena for a few minutes, and we all agreed that we did not want to be abducted. So we got the heck out of there. And this was really before drones. And I think like that's
Right.
something when I tell the story, I try to highlight too, is this is before drones kicked off to how they are now. It was
Mm.
not like that back in 2014. And
Right.
even though that was only 11 years ago, we've really made advancements, and it was nothing like that. And it wasn't until I was watching one of those unsolved mysteries or unexplained episodes when the Phoenix Lights episode came on, and I was like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, that's literally what we saw. Like basically the same thing. Are you familiar with the Phoenix Lights?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Okay. All right. So if any of the listeners want to know what I saw, Google that, and that was basically it. And
Mhm.
that was really incredible. I haven't seen anything like that since. And that was really the first time I saw anything that I couldn't explain and
Mhm.
that wasn't normal, because the way that the lights were moving was in an intelligent fashion,
Mhm.
especially how it would be in a line, and then they would go dark and then pop up in these geometric designs pretty rather quickly, almost too quickly. It was just really strange.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very interesting. That hits very close to home for me because the thing that kind of kicked off everything experience wise for me was also in 2014, and the color was like a warm white orangish type of color, so
Mhm.
very very interesting.
Yeah, and it was above the water. And so that's something that I've always been fascinated with. I
Yeah.
love hearing more people talk about,
Uh-oh.
our own
Oh.
earth and coming from the
Oh no. Oh no, we lost her.
waters. And I just had somebody
Oh
who came
yes.
on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you
Am I
you
there? I guess we're
disappeared, but now
talking
you're back.
yeah, because we were getting into the good stuff. That's why.
The gremlins always happen, they don't like it, but keep it going.
Yeah. What was the last thing you heard?
You said that they were over the water and you like that, and then
Okay.
ah,
All
ah,
right.
ah. So
Yeah, the powers that be were like, we can't have that getting out. So, okay. So basically, kind of the connection that UFOs might have with the ocean and with water.
mhm,
I just had someone come on my show who is an experiencer.
mhm,
And she claims that there is an underwater base over in the Gulf of Mexico, now where, or
yeah,
America, whatever you call it. But where I saw it was the Atlantic. And it's just really interesting when you start plotting some of these UFO sightings that they are like happening around water, either a riverway, an
mhm,
ocean, a gulf, a lake. And there seems to be that correlation that's there. And that's something that's really fascinating to me, that maybe they're not coming from light years away, that they're coming from our own earth.
Yes, I am 100% with you on that. Um, yeah, I mean, one of the connecting threads, that I always like to pull on when people come on and tell their stories is that, there, no matter the phenomenon, there always seems to be a couple of things that kind of connect them. And
Mhm.
running water or bodies of water or anything to do with water in and of itself is always one of those things, right? And it doesn't seem to matter if it's a river, if it's ocean, and that doesn't even go into account for all the released UFO videos that we get dropped to us, and it's always on the ocean. And then
Mhm.
all the drone thing happened this past year or so, whatever.
Yeah.
Water.
Have
Interesting.
you had an opportunity to see the new footage, that was released, the new UFO footage that got leaked?
Was it a jellyfish one?
No. Okay, so this
Okay.
one it's pretty new. I think it literally came out within the last week.
Ah.
But basically, there is this video, and it came from the Afghan, Pakistan border, and it was allegedly from around 2020. And
Mhm.
this is a military leak that was leaked out. And in the video, it's a thermal video, and you see this round craft going through the clouds, but there's no heat signature. So the propulsion on it, there's
Mhm.
no like visible thing propelling it through the air, and it's just kind of gliding through the clouds, and they show it kind of enhanced and slowed down, and it's just zipping through, and it's the
Mhm.
craziest thing, and I just don't know what to make of it. But there's absolutely no heat signature, it's completely devoid of that,
Mhm.
and it is just really incredible. And I think it's interesting because especially now with the Pentagon coming out and saying that they've used UFOs as a ruse for years for their
Yep.
secret weapons testing. I almost think it's just a lie within a lie. I'm sure that there's some of that going on, but I don't think that that accounts for everything.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, it definitely plays a role, but it's not everything. Well, that's interesting because, you know, timeline-wise, that lines up to a lot of things that I've actually heard from a friend of mine. And I bring that up to say that, like, as mental wait, carp compartmentalized as the, uh the military and everything is, sometimes people are like, how does it make sense that these things can leak? But yet, when you talk to like the average everyday grunt, there are so many of them that are just sitting there and observing like satellite feeds, for instance, over active conflict zones or whatever, and they catch stuff all the time. And my friend, he was like, shoot, I kept a junk drive in my pocket. When something popped up, I'd be like, bloop, I'm gonna catch that thing.
Yeah.
And it happens far more than you guys out there in YouTube land really know. Like, I'm surprised that it's not just overwhelming the feeds of everything right now with the amount of times that it actually happens. So, yeah, yeah, that's awesome. I'm gonna check it into it. I'm gonna check into
Yeah,
it.
and, they do keep information, I think, siloed, especially in some of these cases where I think that they are doing some of that reverse technology, potentially
Mhm.
from things that have been found. I think that they do try to keep information siloed, and that's why it's so interesting that things like, X, formerly Twitter, is
Right.
really our news source now. It's hard to keep information from getting out. This apparently was a very high level leak from the Air Force. So I find that really
Mhm.
interesting. And these are the same. Okay, so the Tic Tac video that was in your intro, the same guys who were responsible for helping that get leaked out are the same ones for this new video that's come out.
Oh, okay.
They're responsible for getting in touch with that.
Very cool. Very cool. I'd
Yeah,
love to get some of those guys on, but I don't think I'm quite big enough fish just yet, but we're gonna get there.
absolutely.
That's all right. Well, okay. So, all right. Now, as much as I love hearing about all that stuff, talk to me a little bit about the set squatching activity that you guys got going on out there.
Yeah, so Florida, and for those who may not know, so The skunk ape is basically the cousin of Bigfoot, and it's kind of just our nickname that we have for the Bigfoot activity here. We call it the Florida skunk ape because there are lots of swamps around here, and of course, it just fits. And really, the skunk ape is a little bit smaller than other Bigfoot species, especially when you get out in the Pacific Northwest or even in other areas like Tennessee or Alabama.
Yeah.
I've heard reports of 10 to 12 footers, all black, gray. Where here, you're probably going to get something around that 6 foot tall range, um, kind of with that more of that auburn color coat. And so there are some physicality differences there. You also have some people who say that they've got the four toes, but that's kind of just a brief overview of the Florida skunk ape. But there's
Hmm.
definitely Bigfoot activity happening here in Florida. I research in a couple areas. Some of my favorite places are Mayaca, Ocala, and up in the Panhandle, Apalachicola type
Hmm.
area. There are some fantastic things happening, and I really got involved with the Bigfoot community here. I, like probably many of your listeners, love the topic, wanted to learn more about it. So I was consuming a lot of different podcasts and things like that. And I think I had looked it up on Facebook and got involved with some local groups, and then saw that there was going to be a Bigfoot convention. And I was like, okay, well, this is absolutely the coolest thing I've ever heard of.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, we're going to this. And I was able to go to my first conference a couple years ago, and there was a dinner before the conference, which was really cool because the conference itself held a VIP dinner, but this was kind of for like folks who just wanted to gather who weren't attending that dinner.
Hmm.
And I got to meet a lot of great people through that. So I kind of got to make some friends, went to the conference, and they had some big heavy speakers. Like Dave Politis was there, who I'm a huge fan of.
Yeah.
um Jeff Meldrum was there, Ron Moorhead, Ronnie LeBlanc. So it was really an all-star lineup. Like you couldn't have asked for a better intro to Bigfoot research than that. And I was
Yeah.
always been a very active hiker, outdoors person. I love, like, I had a day off, I was in the woods hiking with my dog. I've always been like that.
Hmm.
And I had a family member, my nanny, she had a Bigfoot sighting in Florida back in the 70s. So it's kind of always been something that's been in my mind. I just have taken it to the next level with actually getting out there and
Yeah.
doing research. So, all that to say, I got to make some really great friends through the conference, make connections. And then I just started going out for myself. And I have, the research group I'm involved with now. We go
Hmm.
out and we do work together. And we've had some just crazy stuff happen here. I have found footprints. So, as far as evidence goes, I've had a one class A sighting, but we've had lots of class B things happen, such as the
Hmm.
footprints, finding, having vocals, all those different types of things. So basically everything but seeing it, we have had that happen as well. I've come across some footprints while out primitive camping in one of the swamps. I was out there for days and there was not a single soul, because you're correct. At this time of year, it is very hot. And it was
Yeah.
actually a year ago. It's so crazy. About a year ago, I think the other day, that I found my prints, but I didn't publish them. When I found them, I kind of held on to them. And then some
Mhm.
trail cam footage came out of the area where I'd found these prints. And I just felt inauthentic holding on to it. So I was like, okay, it kind of gave me that push. And I had showed them to some BFRO investigators, and they were like, okay, you've got something here. This is really cool. And I decided to publish them. And it was crazy because we were riding along. We use e-bikes to get around, especially kind of
Yeah.
in Central Florida. Ocala, not so much because it's a lot hillier, but in one of my main research areas, it's pretty flat. If you
Mhm.
find a hill in Florida, you're pretty pressed. So
Right.
it's mostly flat here, but it's hotter than hell. So it was last June, very hot. Nobody in their right mind is out primitive camping, but Bigfoot researchers, which is kind of nice. We had the
Right.
forest to ourselves, so to speak. And we were coming back from this set of lakes, and we were kind of going to go back to head to camp, kind of maybe poke around, look at some other stuff.
Mhm.
And part of Bigfoot research that I talk about is we're always looking down, because we're always kind of like looking for tracks or looking for any kind of signs of activity. And
Right.
that's when I'm biking along and I look down and I see these footprints and they're fresh because so what we were riding on this trail was kind of consisted of like limestone, dirt, and a little bit of mud, sand in some parts. So it kind of varied. But
Hmm.
where these prints were, it was this trackway went right through this mud, which I couldn't have asked for a better trackway. And
For
um,
sure.
I wish we would have been able to cast it. And it's one of those things like, and that's the thing with Bigfoot research too, I should say. You find something and you're like, oh my gosh, this is great. But like you want it again. Like you're never satisfied. It's never like you get that one piece of evidence where you're like,
Yep.
okay, cool, I can wrap this up now. It's always like you're searching for the next dopamine hit of finding more proof or whatever. So, anyways, I look down and it's unmistakably a footprint. There's absolutely no denying it or misconstruing it with anything else. This is not a bear. This is not a human.
Right.
This is a trackway, and it veered off right into the woods, into nothing. But you could really see where the toes had dug into the mud there, and you could
Mm.
clearly see these toes just dig in and where they squished up, and it was just really cool. It was really crazy, and that was about a year ago, and I'm still searching again just for something like that. I'm going out to the same area tomorrow to try to again find more proof of the Florida skunk ape. But yeah, we come across things like that. Like I said, we've been howled at, screamed at by
Mm.
these things. We've kind of gone into an area, done some provocations, and we've got them yelling at us. I've had stuff thrown at me. You name it. It's happened. And then, getting to see one. That was pretty crazy too. So
Oh.
there's yeah,
Okay.
up in the panhandle. And that's the thing too that I tell when I tell that story is like when I had my sighting, we weren't even researching at all. So wasn't prepared for it. And
Right.
so that's crazy. And a lot of times things happen when you're not prepared for it. And I really think that they're curious creatures. So if you're just out there doing things that they find interesting, or if you're somewhere at night or where they're not expecting you to be, I always say they expect to see you at camp, but out in the middle of the woods at night, I don't think that they expect that, especially when you're not where you're supposed to be. So I think it piques their interest, and we
Yeah.
got lucky that night.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. Now, okay, so you can't just drop that out there on us and not tell us about it. Like, I want to ask questions about what you just said, but that is
Sure.
spill. What's
All
up?
right, so we'll get into it.
Okay.
So, basically, we were out camping last November in the Panhandle, in the middle of the forest. I mean, this place, no cell service whatsoever.
Hmm.
And we weren't far from Alabama, I'll say that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we were right on the time zones. So our phones, whenever we did get service, was kind of in between towers. I guess like the closest tower was on the other side, but we were technically still on this side. I don't know. Our phones were
Right.
messed up, and they were really ornament purpose at that point because you can't call anybody, you can't text anybody, you can't check anything. They're really just for pictures, and that's about it. So we actually did get a freeze warning that night. Like we knew it was going to be cold because it was November. It was around Thanksgiving time. But they actually put a freeze warning out, and I was like, oh gosh, like I hope I'm prepared for this because I'd packed for some cold weather, but not quite 20-degree weather. So we're kind of, having dinner, eating around the fire. We cooked some chili, and that's when my friend realized that she did not have her phone and that she lost it. So it's like, oh gosh. So we're trying to
Oh,
search around the campground at night looking for this, and we're not really making any progress. And then she's like, well, I think I lost it on this trail near the campground. So I'm like, okay, well,
mhm.
let's go look for it. We'll try to find it because where this trail was like just a short loop. So this wasn't like any kind of intense thing. If it was going to have to wait till morning. But this was a short loop. So I'm like, okay, we can do it. So her myself and another gentleman decided that we were going to go check this out because where she was hiking, it was still hunting season. And she thinks that when she took her backpack off to throw her orange on, her little orange vest, that maybe it fell out then and she just kept going and missed it. So we're like, all right, we'll go check it out. So it's really cold. The lake has just this creepy mist rolling off of it. And basically where this trail was is it kind of loops around the campground and it comes up behind someone's campsite. So we're trying to keep that in mind, to be mindful, because we're out there, you know, tromping around in the dark. People are trying to sleep, just trying to be mindful of those type of things. Right. And we're going along and all of a sudden I see these lights up ahead and I'm like, are we already back at the campsite? Because there were lights up high at the facilities at camp. And I'm like, are we already back there? And they're like, no, we still have a ways to go. And then the lights went out. And I guess at one point, my friend said, are those headlights? Because they were bright white lights and they went away. And so my friend Jeff came back and was like, wait, where were they? And I said, they were right there. I just saw them. And he was like, well, let's light this area up. So we turn our flashlights on and we start flashing the woods in that area. And so where I had seen the lights was about the 12 o'clock position on the trail, probably, 9 feet up. And we're shining the lights. And now I'm about the 9-10 o'clock position. And I'm shining my light and I hit these eyes, these just giant eyes and this head, and it bobs up and down in a quick motion. It goes up, down, and it's bobbing like this, but just in this absolutely freaky, unnaturally fast motion that is almost hard to describe if you've never seen it. Like, I can't move that fast, and just how seamlessly it moved and creepy it moved. Even though, I go out there and I do this, it scared the crap out of me. I'm not even going to lie.
I feel you.
I was frightened. And then it was gone. It was just gone. And Jeff's like, well, now it knows that we can see it and it is hunkered down back there. And it took me a minute to get back to normal because I had this chill running down my spine. And I was scared. And my friend Marion, she's trying to pick it up on the thermal. She's like, do you want to see it? And I was like, no, I don't. I was like, I've seen enough. Because I'm like, because I'm like, if I see that again, like that really just double downs on everything. And I just don't think I can handle it. I was like, just seeing the eyes actually glow, emit light, and then capture them again. And the way the movement, I think the movement was really freaky. That really scared me. And I had been warned by some locals about, like we were discussing, the black-eyed children, the skinwalker activity, some of the other paranormal aspects of the area. So I had all of that just swirling in my mind, and I was really scared about it. And we decided to press on. And so we kept going. And actually at another point in the trail, the gentleman, Jeff, he looks over and he's like, I swear I just, saw something black paralleling us like a shadow. And it kind of took me a minute to process what I was seeing. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it was our last night there. And then that's when I had gone back and had seen the red light a few months later, when we were back in that area, and had some more paranormal stuff happen. But yeah, it was awfully freaky.
Wow. Yeah, for sure. And that's one of those things, like, when you see any of these things, it's always the movement and just the nature of just how they interact with reality. It's always so disconcerting. I don't know what it is, but like, it's just unnatural and strange, and yet also graceful. I don't know how to really describe it, but yeah, I totally understand. I've seen too many at this point, but it's weird. Isn't it?
Like you said, graceful. It was almost like very smooth motion, like almost unencumbered by any kind of almost like, I don't want to say almost like it didn't have bones, but almost just like
Mm-hmm.
Like you wouldn't expect a physical creature to kind of be moving like that is I guess what I should say. How
Yeah.
it moved so quickly and flawlessly. Oh, like you said, gracefully. It was
And silently,
very
I bet too, right? Yep.
yes.
That's so weird. That's
It is
so
weird. It's like something straight out of a horror movie, honestly.
I know, right? I noticed that too when I was in Tennessee with Harley. Like, we found like some great footage of, and we caught like prints and stuff like that. And the one thing that like just drove me insane about seeing all these prints was they were in the oddest place possible. Like, it seems like you're going out of your way to take the hardest possible route, but yet in order to leave that, it would have made so much noise just walking through.
Mhm.
Like, how? How can they do that so silently and so quickly? It's just unnerving. So
I
yeah.
almost really think, I almost think they decide when they wanna make noise and when they wanna be quiet, to be honest with you. I kind of feel like they decide on how they wanna be perceived by their audience at that point in time. And
Mm,
somebody shared with me something I found really interesting was that so we were in this one area, same area actually. We had come back and, we were scouting this one night and we were out on an investigation and we were
mhm,
with this small group and we were having stuff happen. So we were in a small group and then we fractured into an even smaller group. So we were on this trail and we left one person at the our little make two base camp. We had a little fire and then we had sent two groups of walkers to the north and to the south and we left her sitting there and she's radioing us and she's like, listen, I'm having some activity, I can hear something behind me,
mhm,
you guys need to get back here. And so when we're kind of coming back again, we have a group coming from the north, we're coming from the south. The group from the north had something growl at them in off
mm,
the trail. They heard like a like a grunt at them, and then we're coming up and we didn't have anything happen, but we did try to make some noise to see at what point she could hear us and to
right.
sort of estimate things. Anywho, we came to stand back by the fire. And that's when I'm standing by the fire and I get something thrown at me. And I almost fell into the fire because I was like, holy crap, what is going on here? And she shared with me all of a sudden kind of this like very loud wind kind of moved through the area. And I guess it goes back to the indigenous Native Americans that supposedly they said that Sasquatch can manipulate things such as the wind to kind of mask their movement. So all of a sudden, you'll be in an area where you're really trying to listen because you've had something happen. And then a great wind will kind of blow through, kind of kick things up, leaves and things like that. And that's their kind of opportunity to move and be camouflaged with the sound. And I started
Yeah.
thinking about that and I was like, that's a really interesting concept. I would love to know more about it. But she had some friends from some tribes that had shared that information with her and I was like, that's really interesting.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And it's also one of those things like I'm sure the majority of the tribes, they all kind of say like the same thing. They're kind of like a creature that's in between with our reality and another.
Mhm.
And that goes into the woo, which that's what I'm all about. I'm all like, woo woo, we on this train. That's the
Absolutely.
way I like it to look at everything. And it's interesting because how much power does it take generating wise to be able to make wind? It makes me wonder.
Yeah.
We got water all around us all the time, which is one of those threads.
Hmm.
So how much effort would it take to tap into something? Shoot, I mean, if we want to get like seriously like really crazy here, if they come through a portal, how do we know it's not
Right.
windy over there?
Right. Yeah. And that's that whooshing sound. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely. It is. It's one of those things that it's like, oh, that's really cool. Then you have like 10 more questions about it.
yeah. There's always so many questions, and shoot, Pamela's bringing up something here. Quartz rock,
Ooh,
quartz
I
rock.
love that. Well, interesting you
Yep.
say that. So there is a property not far from the Alabama border in Florida that is really a property just filled with high strangeness, Bigfoot activity, the rake. Gosh, what else? I believe Dogman too, actually.
Mhm.
And it kind of reminds me of like the Skinwalker Ranch of Florida is kind of what I like
Yeah.
to equate it to, just with the activity that's happening there. And I went to this woman's house and she's speaking to a small group of us and she's talking to us about some things that have happened. She's had some Men in Black activity actually happen out there with some time loss. So I'm
Ooh.
listening to her story and I'm just letting her kind of explain these different things that keep happening. And at the end of it, and she's like, so, asking us, like, do you guys have any questions? And I was like, so, have you ever gotten the ground tested here? Do you know if there's any quartz deposits or
Mm.
granite here? And then everyone's head turned and they looked at me and they were like, great question. And she was like, actually, we have. And we're sitting on, I forget what sort of technical term she used, but basically they were on like a jackpot of quartz. And I was like, I knew it. I just, as I could, she was saying all these different things. I was like, I just don't feel like that would be possible,
Mm.
without that. And then sure enough, she's like, yeah, no, we have the papers to prove it. So
Yup.
I think that quartz is a big connector to all this as well. That's one of those threads.
That's what I was about to do. Thread. It's
Yep.
another little thread.
It is.
Yup.
Absolutely.
Yup. That's awesome. So,
Yeah.
shoot, if I would have been there, I'd have been. So you saw the Men in Black? Do they have
He
skin
did.
that look like chicken skin? That's what I wanted to know.
Well, it's interesting how she kind of described it was that they
Oh,
were
she went
this.
into it?
Yeah, and it
Oh.
actually reminds me of a story that Harley shares. So I'm sure you've
Uh-huh.
probably heard Harley's experiences with this as well. And kind of some of those like electric companies or
Oh, yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
company. Long story short is she was having this electric company come out. She said it was like almost like once a month they were out there. And she couldn't understand why, because they're really at the end of this long private road to
Yeah.
get to their house anyways. It's not like it's right on the street. And so she was sharing that one day she decided to ask them, like, what are you guys doing? And it was always like, oh, we're just checking the transformer, this and that. But this day that she had asked them, she said they
Mhm.
all looked the same, that they all were bald, and they were in this just really clean uniform, brand new white Chevy truck. Brand new. She
Mm.
said she doesn't even think it had the electric company logo on the side. It was just this new truck, and they were all kind
Mhm.
of just, she said they all looked the exact same. And next thing she knew, when she came to, she was in the hairdresser's salon and she's getting her hair done. And the hairdresser's like, are you okay? Are you all right? And she's like, you've had this dazed look on your face ever since you walked in. And she's like, I don't know how I got here. She's like, I have
What?
no recollection of driving here. Yeah.
Right. Oh my
hmm
god.
Just the last thing she remembers is talking to them and saying, what are you guys really doing out here? Because it can't be the transformer. And then it was like nothing.
These are not the droids you're looking for. Go get your hair did.
hmm
Wow. Okay.
hmm Yeah.
Huh. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, flesh robots. I agree. I'm with you. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Those Mirage Men are something else.
I know, right?
And it's interesting, when I had Harley on to kind of talk about his experiences when we got into it, I've
Mhm.
never had my system crash before, but it wasn't until we started talking about that. Similarly, earlier when we started to talk about the UFOs in the water, my
Mhm.
entire system crashed. The entire file was corrupted. And I know, like, when people start talking about the
Mm.
Nephilim and other things, I've heard other podcasters, like, their boards get fried and this and that. And so I've heard of that, and I definitely believe it. Just never, you never think it will happen to you. And then I had to reach out to the company, try to get a copy of the audio. It was the hardest episode I've ever had to edit. And I was we still lost probably 1/4 of what we recorded. I was never able to
Mhm.
recover.
Yeah.
And I had to splice these things. It was the hardest thing ever. But yeah, that was really crazy when we started talking about sort of some of his like Men in Black experiences.
Mhm.
That's of course when the system decided to go down.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Shoot. We were talking Nephilim just last week, and just out of nowhere, the new light that I just put up above me to do the background better went out.
Really?
Yeah. Out of nowhere, brand new. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, that
Yeah.
was weird. Didn't have no kind of
Yeah.
timer or nothing set on it. The gremlins, man, the gremlins. If they can't get you that way, they'll figure something else
Mm-hmm.
out.
Yeah,
You
they don't
know.
like it when you start talking about them.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, that's where I see, all this is being connected. Like the threads that we pull when you follow the thread. I mean, my opinion, that's where it all leads to. But that's not for everybody. Sometimes not everybody is ready to get to that level, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, and it's not something you can force on people either. That's kind of why I like engaging with other like-minded folks. With my show, I'm here to just kind of give a voice to people who have had things happen and tell their stories and be able to learn more and collaborate with other people who are in this space, because I feel like when you force things on people, it's just not authentic and they're not going to
Right.
receive it. And it's not until something happens to them where they're finally like, ooh, okay, maybe
Yep.
Brooke was right about all this craziness or whatever the case is. And I think that's the thing is everyone's third eye will open when it is the right time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Trust me, I get it. It took me years to actually put the pieces of my experiences together to the point where it actually made sense. Until that time, I was like, maybe I'm just special. It's like, no, you're not. But it's okay. We'll get you guys there. If you guys hang around here long enough, we'll pull them threads. We'll get you there. It's all
It
good.
starts making sense. Mm-hmm.
It'll start
Yeah.
making sense. But before I forget, we were talking about the water and the quartz.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of quartz at the bottom of the ocean, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happens when the weight of all that water pushes down on all that quartz?
That's a good point. And the fact that the ocean is so unexplored. I mean, what did they say? 80% of it has never been
Yeah.
explored, and we can't even get down to the depths because of the pressure, like you're saying. Who knows what's lurking beneath? I'm a big proponent of dragons, I'm not gonna lie.
Heck yeah.
And so I just think, especially in the Bible when they say Leviathan is going to be coming back in the end of days, and I just wonder,
Yep.
what other creatures are lurking beneath?
Well, since you brought it up, you ever heard of the Book of Enoch?
Yes.
Okay. So the women that fornicated with the fallen angels and gave birth to demons, what happened to them? Do you know?
They became the Nephilim.
Well, they were turned into sirens or mermaids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
hmm So all that went down, happened. They got banished out there. Lord knows how long they survived for. But yeah, turned into mermaids. And then all of a sudden, mermaids are a thing after that. Who knew? Crazy. But, that's one of those things where it's a connecting thread, right? Okay, so that happened to them. Then we have all this things going on with the ocean, like things coming out of it, coming into it, yada yada. Water being a source of power to draw on. You get it. And you mentioned it yourself, Leviathan. Okay, so Leviathan was originally like a creature basically to showcase God's power in the ocean. In the land counterpart for that would be Behemoth.
Mhm.
So we have that going on in the ocean as well. Like we don't hear anything about that thing being unalived in any kind of recorded history.
Right.
It's got to be huge. And it makes me also think about that picture that everybody likes to talk about is
Yes.
Leviathan, like out there between South America and Antarctica, like that
Hmm.
big snake head. That's so cool.
Isn't it?
Yeah, but at the end of the days, right, in Revelation, that thing basically is turned bad and it gets killed. So obviously it's got some bad thoughts, bad juju, got its own plans. So things originating from where that thing hangs out, it makes sense. Makes sense. Maybe they're talking. But at what point in time, if all that energy is being released and being accessible down there from all that quartz, all that pressure, I mean, there's just got to be portals coming in and out of that area all the freaking time. All
I
the
would think
time.
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of you ever seen Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End where they kind of
Yeah.
go through that portal and it brings them out on the other side? I think that
Mhm,
that's highly likely and just happening. I think Antarctica.
mhm.
Um, I'm going to be doing a deep dive into that because I think that there's just a lot going on there, especially with the sounds that are coming out of there now that they've
Yeah.
recorded. They have no idea where they're coming from. I think that there's definitely portal activity happening. And I think that there's a lot more strange things going on in this world than what we
Mhm.
realize.
Well, they say that Hollywood does its own little way of soft disclosure with all of its media, right?
Right. Revelation of the method.
Yep, yep. So why
Yeah.
not? Why not?
Yeah. Life
We
imitates art.
we always speculate that the elite know a little bit more than we do. There you
I
go.
think so. Have you ever seen the King Kong movie with the Hollow Earth
Oh, yeah.
theory?
Oh yeah.
With what was it, King Kong versus Godzilla, and
Yeah.
they get into Hollow Earth and the firmament, and they even
Mhm.
have this like conspiracy podcaster on there who's like talking about it, and I was like, wow, this
That
is
was my
almost
spirit
like
animal right there.
yeah, that guy, that was a great movie. But I'm totally with you. I really feel like they do put out these breadcrumbs. And for those
Oh yeah.
people who, and especially even when you get into the Nephilim, there was a new movie that just came out in the last year called The Watchers that had Dakota Fanning,
Mm.
and it was just like basically essentially this horror movie. And what it was talking about these fallen angels who came, and it was almost like I think it was this Irish forest, and she was driving along, and it's like she did kind of cross this portal line, right? And
Yeah.
so in this area, they have dominion, they had control, and so now she's in there and she gets stuck. And if you're caught outside at nighttime, these watchers want to become you, and then you get into the whole fact of like demons and wandering spirits and that they need that vessel, and so they were looking for that vessel, and it was similar to a human, but not quite. Like they could never get it to be quite exact. And it's so interesting. And I'm like, why? Like, I'm just like watching this movie now, like from a different lens, like watching this. I was like, now I really need to see where this goes. But it is
Right.
interesting how more and more like you hear Enoch getting brought up, you hear
Mhm.
the Watchers, and some of those themes that were a little bit more fringe that are now in mainstream. It's interesting.
It is. It's one of those things like, I can point fingers and put the blame where it actually belongs and all that, but that's not really going to help. What I would say is that, like for instance, on the other eschatological book talking about end times would be like the book of Daniel, right? And the book of Daniel gives us a lot of insight of how to interpret things like the Nephilim and stuff that was going on. And it talks about how it's going to be in our age. And one of the things about it that's interesting is that that book was, for lack of a better terms, like the way it's put, is it was sealed for a future generation to actually understand. And it talks about like this whole iron mixing with clay type incident that's going on there. And it's talking about these shining ones, which would be fallen angels and Nephilim and all that, right? That's what it's basically describing. And the interesting thing about it is that once it goes into talking about that, is it says, that unlike in the past, they will not cleave to each other. And
Hmm.
this word cleave is kind of innocuous just at face value. But when you actually go into the etymology of it and understanding of it, what your understanding of this word will change, and you'll understand that it's a marriage contract. So they will
Okay.
not cleave to each other, right? So in the time of Enoch, what was going on is the angels came down and they took whichever women they chose as wives. So now what it's saying is it's not going to be like that again in the future. Instead, they'll just do whatever they want to with whoever they want to, right? It sounds so much like modern day abduction stories.
Oh, I see where you're
abducting these
going.
people and making these hybrids them. There's no marriage involved in that at all. It's Concord grapes going on, right?
Hmm.
I don't want to say the word here on YouTube. They don't
Right.
like that, but it's kind of like, oh, okay, so understanding of this situation and what's being taught here isn't going to be really good until the end time. Well, now it's like all these stories. Like, how many stories do we need of hybrids being created?
Hmm.
It's like, oh, okay, now this all of a sudden makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Yeah, that's really interesting on the adoption theory. Have you heard about the Eisenhower theory that
Oh,
he
yeah,
agreed to?
that, yes.
So basically, he agreed to hand over X amount of Americans every year for alien use for whatever abduction
Out of the
reasons,
national
in
forests.
exchange, yeah, in exchange for technology. And look at how much our technology has boomed since his presidency till now, especially in the last 50, 60 years. It's just we've made just an incredible leap, and that's really interesting. I never thought of it in that way.
Mm.
And you've given me much to think about with that part now. Because you're right, it does sound a lot like that.
Yep. 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 For sure. Wait, isn't the number that is allowed, like, for them to take, like, something crazy, like 200,000 a year?
I'd never heard the exact number, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was something like that. I thought you were gonna say something like 33,000. I was like, of course it would be 33.
That'd make too much sense. No, we can't
Right.
go there. But no, I think it is like an absurdly like high number that they're allowed
That's
to.
scary.
Even if it's like 2,000, like that's too much. But I
Yeah.
think it's like really high. I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't have it in front of me to look at, but
Yeah.
yeah. So interesting. And I do remember the specifics on that was, like the majority of it comes out of the national forests.
Hmm.
And we got all this craziness happening in national forest. I mean, yeah, it's a secluded wooded area. I mean, but there's still
Yeah.
a lot of crazy.
And
A
that's
lot
a
of
whole
crazy.
nother thing too with Teddy Roosevelt and why he created the national parks. And was it to keep something in, rather than to just enjoy, our beauty here? What was the real reason of that? And you're right. And the statistics for missing people in national parks is a very hard thing to find. I know Dave Pilatus put out a inquiry, I want to say for Yosemite, to try to get the numbers on how many people have just gone missing just in that park alone. And the federal government, they wanted to charge him some absurd amount, I want to say, um, in the millions, which most people just
Yep.
don't have to do. And I doubt that they would have probably even given him the right information with that anyways. I don't trust that. But yeah, they're very tight-lipped, yet from what we do know, there's so many unsolved missing persons cases out of the national parks. And why is that?
Very good question. Once
Hmm.
again, that's a thread.
Yeah,
That's a thread.
it is a thread.
Yep.
And that's why when you're doing Bigfoot research or cryptid research or alien research, don't go along because it's always that point
Never.
of separation. That's something that we talk about too. It's tough, and I know even some of the safest of people wind up getting separated and things happen. So
Yep.
just always watch your back out there and keep your head on a swivel.
Yep. It always, like I say, always keep your emotional support pistol with you.
Me too.
It might not do any good, but it'll make you feel a lot better. Make you feel a
Yeah.
lot better.
Has
You know?
anybody ever shot a ghost? I don't know. It
No,
like
but
goes through it and
I
it's like, oh, really? That's the best you got?
I try. Why not?
Yeah, with silver bullets for dogmen.
Yeah. Yeah. I think honestly, if I had my choice, it'd probably be like silver pellet shotgun shell
There you go. Yeah,
for all the
yeah,
bases that way.
yeah. No
Yeah.
joke. Like a sawed off one you just kind of keep on your
Yeah.
side.
Exactly. Oh, and we can buy that stuff now too. So thank you, Trump. Yes.
Oh, you can? Good to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, that was in the big beautiful bill. We can get SBSs and stuff like that now. No tax
Oh,
stamp.
wow.
Yay! I'm excited.
Good to know.
Good to know. But yeah, always carry the emotional support pistol. Worst case scenario, because granted, will this do anything if anything really wants to attack you? Probably not. But bears are a thing. cougars are a thing. The great North American
Oh
crackhead is a
yeah.
thing. You know, keep it.
Yeah, it
Better
is.
to
Oh
have it than
no.
leave it.
I definitely carry every time I'm out. I don't want to be a victim, and if I can do anything to potentially protect myself or other people, like you said, like North
Right.
American crackhead is a thing.
Yup.
And oftentimes some of these remote areas they attract um people who don't want to be found or doing things that they're not supposed to, and it's always good to make sure that you have something to protect yourself with.
Right. Always. For sure. Well, awesome. Well, Brooke, is there anything else you got on your mind you want to talk about with us tonight?
Man, just got some cool stuff coming up. I'm working on some more investigations. Like I said, I'm going to try to get better. I've been trying to take more footage while out in the field. That was never something that I did much of, but I know people are always really curious about what we're doing, what we're seeing out there, what we're experiencing. So I've been trying to get better about at least taking some short videos just to say what we're doing. I'm working on putting together one from our Tennessee trip.
Hmm.
So I just be on the lookout for that. I'm trying to post some more behind the scenes of our field research and things like that, and have a few trips coming up that I am really looking forward to. Like I said, I'm going out tomorrow to our research area, and yeah, more things to come. And thank you so much for having me on tonight.
Hey, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it very much. It was super fun and very insightful, and I loved it. You're a
Yeah.
great hang, Brooke. Great
Thank
hang.
you. You've given me some stuff to think about too. I always love that, the whole iron sharpens iron theory, and I
Mhm.
love talking about this because yeah, you learn so much from other people, and yeah, now I need to go look into this some things.
No problem. No problem. I appreciate you so much, and just hang out a little bit with me in
Yeah.
the backstage, and I'll be right back. Okay?
All right. Thank you again for having me.
Thank you. All right. Well, folks, that's the show tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope everybody hit the like button and the subscribe buttons if you're new here. And also, I hope you guys went and checked out some of the links. That way, you guys can go and follow Miss Brooke because she's very interesting and she has her own show. You definitely want to check those out too. Show the love. We got to spread it because we love our friends and our fans. It's awesome. It's what it's all about, networking and hanging out, meeting cool people and learning new stuff and pulling those threads. So yeah, with that being said, guys, also yeah, check out the Patreon, check out the merch because it funds me getting out to the woods with good equipment. I'm not Relic Films, even though I'm the cameraman. I don't have the access to the good stuff like Mr. Greg. But we're gonna get there. Let's see here. Yeah, because actually I've got an outing coming up first week of August. So yeah. So make sure you guys go and do all the things. Do all the things because yeah, I love you. So that being said, you guys take it easy, be good, eat, tookie, and let me cue up the Doomer Flotchy. There it is. Peace.
How it's supposed to feel.